Hey guys, how's it going? I just wanted to do a review on the movie, The Combination, which came out like fucking years ago, 2009. And pretty much, it's actually like a really pretty good movie, and that like kind of depicts like the attitudes of like kind of like multicultural like Western Sydney, um, back around that time, like 2009 era. um, and like the attitudes of how people were like after the Cronulla riots and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're not from Sydney, or if you are and you're kind of keen to get an insight of like maybe like what kind of the atmosphere was like for a few years after the riots in terms of um like people thinking like, am I Australian or am I Lebanese or am I this, am I that? And then like segregation and shit like that happening, and um, due to the Cronulla riots and all that shit. So basically, this movie kind of captures the feeling of what some people felt during this period, and I think it does it pretty well. Um, just watching this just now, definitely huge fucking like nostalgia of like how it was back then, kind of thing. Like, I mean, pretty accurately, right? All right, I'll come back in a second. Where was I? Yeah, so definitely check it out. But yeah, it definitely doesn't represent what Sydney's like now. Sydney's much different now. Um, but definitely a lot of like how people act and things like that, like around these areas, and even like the rest of Sydney, just being influenced by like Western Sydney as of like the past couple of years, is pretty paramount when you look at like Aussie drill rap and shit like that. And a lot of that shit stemmed from like these kind of cultures. Um, so yeah, like I would totally recommend checking that out. Um, Yeah, and pretty much like Sydney's nothing like this now. There's definitely not like a Lebos versus Aussie things anymore. That hasn't been a thing for like fucking years, 10 years. It's definitely like no one really thinks about like race or anything like that. Not in fucking Western Sydney. No one thinks about shit like that. And regardless of what like the media might tell you and certain attitudes they might fucking make you think about. But if you go to like anywhere in fucking Western Sydney, past, I don't know, let's say Strathfield, it's very fucking multicultural. It's like lots of Asians, Indians, Lebos, Aussies, everyone. And everyone's just, no one looks at race. People just look at, the character of someone, which is like totally like a very, very, forward way of a society, right? Like, and I'm so lucky that I grew up in like a place like that, right? Like when I went to school, I was probably one of like five Aussies in my year. You know what I mean? Um, and for me to go to like other parts of Sydney where it's not like that at all, and then I hear that, and then I hear these people say things like, "Oh yeah, like white privilege and shit like that," and then it's just like, "Yeah, man, how about you go to like Western Sydney and like you see like how fucking privileged white people are there." Yeah, not really, bro, because there's not much of us or them. I don't consider myself that. I'm kind of like half South African, but you know, people would profile me as probably white if they saw me, or even Levo with the whole beard combo and all that shit. Um, but yeah, like it's totally not a thing. It's totally not a thing. But now if you go to like inner Western Sydney or eastern suburbs and in the city, you get like a total different demographic with different views and shit like that. That is totally outside of actual multicultural Sydney, who actually understand that no one gives a fuck about that shit. Um, yeah, so this movie is like a pretty good take into that. And yeah, like fucking definitely more people should watch it. Like, I mean, it's fucking pretty like accurate of like how like the behaviors were back then. And the movie is about like a dude who is basically Well, it's about a couple dudes, but it's about like this kid who's in like year 12 who falls in with the wrong group, who gets called like wog this and all that, and then some drama starts, and then his mate turns out he's been hanging around with like criminals, and then he gets involved, and then all this money starts happening, and then of course that all starts to fall apart, and then his brother who came out of jail is telling him, you're either going to end up in the grave or in jail, and it's really, really like not overly cheesy and cliche. It's actually done really well and really hits the heart with how they fucking communicate these ideas through the movie. Like it's not like you're watching like a fucking cheesy black and white gun equal bad or some shit like that. Like it's the way it's communicated is very real to life, very real to life, and they fucking capture that so well. Like it's definitely doesn't feel like an acty theatrical movie. Like it feels like real life. Like they fucking capture that so well. So yeah, like just wanted to talk about that. It's on Netflix if you want to check it out. Yeah, and that's pretty much all I have to say on that.